This is the Stuck at the Airport podcast. I am Anthony.
I am Kyle, and I am attracted to Hillary Clinton.
He's attracted to Hillary. Who wouldn't be?
We're starting off strong.
No, I was gonna. You brought up you wanted to talk about like the Alex Jones reinstatement. I was just gonna start with Alex Jones,
And I hate all people of all races.
and everything.
We're gonna get
I
canceled
was
on our
let's-
first show.
Let's get in the algorithm by just mentioning his name right off rip.
Mhm. We'll get out of the algorithm.
Yeah, that'll kick us like right out.
Yeah.
That's like a trigger for don't watch this. We're not recommending this video.
Or saying COVID. Back when it was going on, you couldn't say COVID.
Which is crazy that you couldn't say that in the first
It
place.
makes no sense.
All right.
Am I talking right into the mic?
It looks pretty good.
Okay.
I think it sounds pretty good. I would suggest moving like this way to be right in front of it. Not like turning, like your physical seat shifting to the right. Just don't touch this cable.
Yeah, I know. Mess everything
I know.
up.
It's like this thing can be a little fidgety. So if you even like bump it, I'm always going to be checking this. Like, is this still recording? I'm not worried about that because we had overheating problems with that camera when it was actually recording, but it's technically just screen recording on that. So
Interesting.
that's fine.
Okay. So, we had talked about Alex Jones.
We did.
We might as well just jump right into the deep end.
We'll just send it in right to Alex
You already
Jones.
brought it up. So, what is your opinion on free speech and what happened with the censorship? Like, how do you feel about that?
We could like tie Trump into this as well because the
Yeah.
same thing happened to him. I'm not really like an Alex Jones fan or a Trump fan by any stretch of the
Neither am I.
imagination. I would say any politician I don't really give two shits about. I was thinking about this today going to the gym about like the free speech and removing someone's platform to be able to talk. And I was running into like a crossroads with it because if like Twitter is a private company, and I know like a lot of Republicans are like, well, it's a private company, they can do whatever they want. Grr. But this kind of got like flipped on them in that sense, where Twitter was still a private company. Therefore, the owner of Twitter has the right to say, I don't want that person on my platform. But in that same vein, it's like, where does free speech stop? Or more so, free speech, you can say whatever you want, but those things can have consequences.
Yeah.
And it's like, is someone getting kicked off Twitter the consequence of that, or is it hindering their free speach? I'm like stuck between that. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. Do you think that those people have like a moral, well, more of like they have more to lose? Like they're not in that position to kick people off, although it is a private company. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like they are able to dictate what society believes, and they have such a strong platform. Like kicking them off of that it's a monopoly at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You have what? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and like 3 subgenre of platform. So kicking them off of the big 3 is really taking away their voice. So I think that maybe those people, same as like police officers, have like you should expect more of them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So do we expect more of the leaders in that world, like not to intervene in a political, you know what I mean? Like why do they?
I can see that totally. And that's why I'm like at this crossroads with it, because it's like Alex Jones got kicked off because he said the things about Sandy Hook and like crisis actors. Oh, I don't think it was just that.
It wasn't. There was a video he made the day before that he got kicked off. I was just watching this, where he went to like a meeting or something with a lot of social media and CEOs and leaders, and literally like tore them apart, like questioning them and putting them on blast like in front of everybody. And the next day, or that day, they had a meeting with Soros, I think, was included. People that shouldn't be included, like that don't have a say in social media, like the powers that be. Why are they making a decision on that? And Sandy Hook definitely was an inspiration for why he got kicked off.
I can see that.
agree with him on that, so let's just get that out there. Yeah, I don't think that every take that he has is correct or should be entertained even, but I don't think that you should limit somebody's speech regardless of what they say unless they're inciting violence or like an actual problem. Like there's terrorist groups on Twitter.
That's also the thing. Like
That's a problem.
ISIS is on Twitter,
Yes.
and like they can post beheading. I don't know if they can post beheadings, but
They can
they do beheadings.
Yes, and they can inspire with tweets violence amongst the Islamic community. Like you'll see post. I use Translate on Twitter when I find their accounts. It's just out of curiosity. Like I come across
Yeah,
their
why
accounts
not?
once in a while, and it's like hate to the U.S. and like death to the people, and they're definitely talking about violent acts. Why is that okay? How is that okay? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I don't get it.
That's like the crossroads with it. It's like, are they just out to get specific people and still try and maintain that? Well, we like to enforce your free. We like everyone having free speech. This is a platform where people can say what they want and do what they want. Yet, in that same vein, they're kicking people off who are in the U.S. that are citizens that live here. I don't want to say they don't incite violence because I guess Trump technically got kicked off for inciting violence.
Yeah.
But it's just weird that is okay, but Alex Jones and people like Trump aren't okay.
Do you feel like there's an ulterior motive with why they target that type of personality, the conspiracy pushers? Because whether we like it or not, he's been right about crazy things in the past. Does he have a connection? Does he have intel that, or his people, like his type of people, do they have information that, I don't know, the elites or the people that are in control don't like the public hearing about? Like, why do they target him and that kind of individual?
I feel like he's an easy target.
Okay, he
Like,
does make
he
himself an
is-
easy target. I agree with you.
He is like the quintessential person when you say a
Conspiracy.
crazy conspiracy
Yeah.
theorist guy.
Tin hat.
Like, yeah, that's Alex Jones, and
Yeah.
he's such an easy target. So it's a lot of people are against him because he does have some not great takes. So it's easy to pick on him. So when you kick him off, people are like, "Yeah, let's go." Twitter
Mhm.
did a good thing by getting rid of this person.
Yeah, and they definitely he fuels the fire. You can find, if you were wanting to get him kicked off of something or get somebody to get on the hate train, it would not be difficult. He does not make it difficult.
No,
I mean, you can pull from any of the shows, and some of the things that he says and the mannerisms just scream like mentally unstable. And I think that if he came off more professionally, he would get his point across better. But he gets too animated.
he gets very.
and
I watched his.
angry.
I watched him on Joe Rogan just because I was curious. I've never like seen anything on the guy too
Yeah.
much other than the memes about the gay frogs. So I was like, okay,
Atrazine is real.
yeah,
in the water.
which is weird. That's like a whole other thing. Like, that actually falls in that point, like the animated point of if he like talked about it in a different way instead of saying the water's turning the freaking frogs gay.
Yes.
If you would have explained it, like maybe they're doing dumping and it is affecting the environment in this way, like that's a
And
good
changing
way.
the genome.
Yeah, that's a good way to get a point across.
100%.
The animated way of turning the freaking frogs gay is how you get labeled crazy conspiracy theorist guy.
But it does catch the attention of people.
Damn right it does, because it got me to watch the
Me
fucking
too.
podcast.
Do you see him when he went off on Rogan? Was it because
Was it during that?
it was
those
during
episodes?
the episode with Bravo, Eddie Bravo.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And
Eddie Bravo
this was awesome. I'm sure anybody watching this that's a male has seen this episode and has observed him in his prime. What was he saying? He was saying something about the mayor of a state, I forget the state, doing a speech on like how they organ harvest children, and he went into that voice, and it was so funny. He's like, "They take the babies, They take their organs. It is so creepy. And Rogan's like, I don't believe it, dude. Like he's not directly saying that, but he's implying like that's crazy. And Jones freaks the fuck out and start. You never seen that clip where he's like screaming and raging?
I've seen him like stand
awesome.
up, and they're like, "Alex, you have to fucking calm down." Like,
That might have been
chill
part.
out,
Yeah, that might have
dude.
been it. He was screaming like. That's why he and like. I don't want to pick on him too much. I want to get to other things, but that's why he in specific gives like that conspiracy theory and that I don't know those black label topics a bad name because like you say when you think of conspiracy theory you think of Alex Jones if you're not in that world. Like if you are Joe at the Catholic Church and you say, "Hey Joe, what do you think about conspiracy theories?" You're crazy.
Oh, that's that Alex Jones.
Alex
guy.
Jones, yeah. So I feel like he could be a better spokesperson for it, but I don't agree with deplatforming somebody on anything because of their opinion. Like he didn't hurt anybody, and that goes for Trump too. That one you could argue he incited a riot, but I don't see any evidence of him ever really directly inciting anything.
I feel like he probably isn't the only person ever on Twitter who has incited violence.
No.
He might just be the biggest name who's done it, but definitely not the only one.
And the most powerful, like one of the most powerful people at the
Yeah,
time.
and
That's the
that-
president of the United States.
That sent a message.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we kicked the president off. Like, look at our crazy ass president. You
Mhm.
really want this guy again?
Yeah, and then it sends a message to other people: you better not act out. You better not act like a fool, because look what can happen. Your entire career can be taken away. Your name can be defaced, like that.
It's probably not. If you don't agree, I feel like a lot of it is political. Like these companies, you can probably see who they donate to, and I guarantee they all fucking do. They donate to certain parties. If you don't align with that, you're on a list. And if you make any sort of minuscule mistake, it's the axe for you.
And at the end of the day, it's all about what? Money.
Fucking money.
Fucking money ruins everything.
Yes, it does.
It corrupts everybody. Doesn't matter. There's a scientific study on the money corruption, and I believe after they estimate in America like $72,000, people start to chase their tail with money, which is a fascinating number. I don't know how they came up with that.
When you say chase your tail, do you mean like
they want more?
They just want to grab more and more?
That's when the greed starts happening. It seems like that number for some reason. Like I said, I don't know how they came up with that number, but around that price point, people start to get greedy, and that's when they start to spend more, and then they need to make more. So then it's a cycle, and they just want more and more and more and more and more and more, and that's when you get that greedy, power-hungry personality, because power changes your mind, like literally changes your mind, and that's a problem.
That is,
and that's our system, and that's why that's a problem.
because
It
the
runs
people in power are fucking rich, rich
Mhm.
as fuck.
So they're all corrupt, every one of them.
Yeah, I don't trust a single politician,
No,
like anyone.
I always say you can't become a billionaire without exploiting people. It's
literally
impossible.
impossible.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, the list goes on and on. You had to be an asshole at some point to somebody to get into that position.
You have to treat people like shit, pay your employees probably not very handsomely, you just not give a fuck about people, their situations, or anything.
Mhm.
Like your empathy just goes out the window.
Yep, 100%. It's all about you at that point, because you're not connected to those people. So you don't. If you never meet these people, you have no feeling for them. Like these people don't know their employees. They don't care. They don't know them. They're just a number. They see, oh, this employee made me this much money. Cool. Like they don't care.
Yeah, it's like I think about like mom and pop shops. Like Loki, where we work, is kind of like a mom and pop shop in a way. Like people have been there for a real long time. The boss is always walking the floor and stuff. And I'd say we get treated fairly decently, like pretty good. And
Comparatively
if
speaking.
you need something, they're pretty lenient with that.
Like
which
if
is
something
cool.
happens.
Yeah, like me and Mitch just went to go get fucking food today. We just left. If you did that at like an Amazon warehouse, you're getting the can. You're gone.
100%. First time.
And no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Like Jeff Bezos doesn't even know that you were hired in the first place. He might not even know that that fucking warehouse is there.
Yeah, I think that too. I think that he puts people in position to build those warehouses, to make those decisions with very little oversight at this point.
Yeah, I was curious about like billionaires and what they do know about their companies and what goes on. Like they're building a new, I think it might already be done. It's like where Skyline Pines was. They're building a new one there. I'm like, I wonder if like Jeff Bezos even had a hand in that, or even people slightly below him even knew about that.
Yeah.
Is that just like, does that just reach a certain level and then it doesn't go any further? But there's still like a large chain of command up top.
I have no idea. That's one of the laws of power. Is when you get to that position to make other people do your work and take credit for it, like Thomas Edison.
Fuck Thomas Edison.
Yeah, let's
what
just
a
get that out there.
shitbag.
He's an asshole, scumbag. Tesla ended up dying alone in his apartment that I think Westinghouse paid for, with nobody and no money, nothing.
Yeah, because you know why no one wanted to invest in him anymore? Because he wanted free energy for people.
Yeah,
And you know what free energy doesn't get you?
Money.
Does not get you money. You can't get rich off free energy.
Yeah. So what do you think about that then? Does that exist? And
Free
what is
energy?
it? Mm-hmm. Did he discover something?
That dude was a nut.
Absolutely.
I'm saying that in like a good sense.
But when you become a genius, you lose your mind.
Yeah, he was fucking crazy. Well, I was listening to a podcast about him, and some of the things he was like in love with a bird or a pigeon or something. But he invented the first X-ray, and I saw pictures of it.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
It's fucking crazy. He was taking pictures of his shoes, and you could see his bones in his shoes, how the nails going into the shoes of how they were built. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. This dude was making an X-ray machine. When was he alive? The 1800s?
Late 1800s, early 1900s. He was at his prime.
That's absolutely wild.
How does one even conceive that idea?
That's what I think. I'm like, where do you even think,
Start.
like, I want to look and see what's inside of my foot.
I'm going to do it.
Like, without thinking of cutting it open, which it would probably be everyone's first assumption. Like, if I cut it open, like, that's going to hurt. So how can I do it without pain? And he's like, well, let's take a picture. I don't know how the fuck X-rays work, but this dude figured it out, and that's nutty.
But the problem is they didn't know the dangers of X-rays at the time. So maybe they...
I can't remember what I was watching, but X-rays were like the hot thing, and everyone wanted X-rays. And then people were getting fucking cancer. And like, why are people getting cancer? And then, of course, it led back to X-rays and radiation, but...
I wonder how long that took to figure out. Like 10 years, 20 years?
It had to have taken something like that.
Stupid you gotta be like, man, all these people are dying. They're all getting X-rays. Let's keep doing it.
So many people have cancer now. That's
I
crazy.
can't figure it out.
What trends are happening? Well, we have X-ray photo booths at the carnivals.
Yeah. No, I think that Tesla had, what did he patent? Like 200 plus, like...
Yeah, a lot.
A ridiculous amount of things. And had so much paperwork and other things that were yet to be patented. And I believe that, I don't know if you want to call it a raid, but powerful people, when he died, entered his home and confiscated a lot of his work, and it was never released to the public. What was in there? I want to know what was in there.
I want to know what was in
if
there.
it was crazy or not, I just want to know. Like, why did they confiscate it and hide it? It was like purposely hid from the world.
They tore down his whole facility, like the
Why?
What was it? His Tesla tower or whatever, where he wanted to make. He said he could like create earthquakes or something. Yeah. A Tesla death ray, and like all that shit was torn down. Pretty much hush hush. Don't talk about this. It was probably because he was onto something, and the people in power were like, this could affect us in ways of eradicating our power.
Yeah.
And we don't want that.
If it wasn't for money and greed, how far along would we be today?
Which
Utopia
is a great segue into the UAPs.
Uh-oh.
Because a very, I don't want to say common theory, but for lack of a better term, common theory of why the government is keeping this from us is because...
It's a loaded question.
They're real. Shut the fuck up. Is because they have technology that could greatly enhance our lives get rid of oil and gas and give people like essentially not fuck over people anymore. Like the technology is there, they have it, but we're going to keep it under wraps because we're being lobbied by oil and gas.
That would collapse the economy.
It would destroy it. Absolutely
Unfortunately.
annihilate it.
And that's a problem that people have to like realize.
But man,
I know.
I wanna know
Just
so
tell
bad.
me and don't implement the technology. Just let me see it. I don't want it. We don't have to do it.
Fuck that, dude. I want to go to space.
Yeah, that would be cool. I want to go to Mars. I wonder what that would actually be like.
You could hang out with the Curiosity rover.
Yeah, I could. Smoke
Smoke a joint with the Curiosity rover. And there's video of, they brought a drone with them up there, and they flew the drone around on Mars. It's so fucking cool.
Oh, I know. How would they'd have to build an atmosphere, like an enclosed atmosphere, I think, for at least the next thousands of years. Or else they have to, I think their goal was to nuclear bomb Mars, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like to melt the ice caps on Mars.
To stabilize the atmosphere. That's crazy. Why do you have to nuclear bomb? Like, how does that work, I wonder? I don't understand.
Maybe...
Because if you do it on our planet, it's a cataclysmic event.
Yeah.
So what does it do differently?
I don't know. Maybe...
Like a reset?
Fuck. Maybe it melts the ice caps and that steam or condensation goes up and gravity makes it into an atmosphere.
Yeah, we're not smart enough
this
to
is
have no
way
idea.
outside of my scope.
We're not qualified to answer these questions. So as far as UAPs go, I want to hear your opinions. What do you believe personally about UAPs? Like, what do you think they are?
I think what they are, I don't know. Do I believe they are real and not human? 100%. I'm like pretty far into the alien rabbit hole. Because I mean, the universe is fucking big.
Gigantic.
It is enormous, and the probability of us being the only sentient, intelligent life is just like preposterous. That's so crazy to think that someone thinks that we are all that's there. That's wild. So I think there's 100% things out there, and based on like what people like, you know, David Grush.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've listened to the hearings. I've watched pretty much most of his most popular interviews, and he's saying the non-human intelligence are here. We have collected crafts in the double digits. There are bodies, and I think something about telepathic interviews with them. I don't know if I go into that far, but
they used remote viewing. I remember hearing about.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. So there's a CIA document on the website itself that I believe the study was done in the 70s or 80s, where they realized, this is all in the document. I don't know if this is true at all. I'm just saying what was in the document, where they figured out that they could reliably remote view something unbelievably far away, another planet, like the other side of the moon. So they would train people to literally close their eyes and see like objects and shapes that they had set up in another room, in a closed box that there's no way these people could figure out. And according to the document, with like a 70 or 80% reliability, they could see and guess what was in the box or what was unseeable. So the theory is that's what you're getting into. The theory is that they train people to remote view with an alien species and conduct interviews light years away. That's probably what you're talking about, because that's what I remember hearing, that they had done interviews with aliens through that.
Yeah, I just pretty much heard they had contact with these beings. If you have you seen like the TikTok videos and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck do you explain that, dude?
You can't.
Exactly.
Anti-gravity propulsion is the only thing I can think of.
The fact that the government is still not acknowledging this is absolutely crazy, because you have people with extremely high credentials. Like Grush was an intelligence officer for like 17 years. He worked his way up very far in the chain of command. Commander David Fravor was an F-18 pilot, and for the most part, I would say, like, veterans are fairly reliable. Although one guy, fuck him, sold Alex that shit motorcycle.
Oh god.
Yeah, so fuck that guy anyway.
So we're batting 2 for 3 right now.
Yeah, we'll bat 3 for 4. The other guy, Ryan Graves, was also an F-18 pilot. And I mean, what do these guys have to gain from like bullshitting this? Like Grush himself has said, this hasn't helped him in any way. In fact, it's been really horrible. He's gotten like threats from the government, or maybe not. I don't know who, but someone has threatened him and said, "We can reach you any point, anytime. Just keep that in mind."
Lazar said the same exact thing.
And I'm in
They ruined his
Lazar's
life.
boat. Like these guys have nothing to really gain from this other than making an appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast. Like,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, but you don't get fucking paid for that.
No. Do you think that maybe some of them, I'm just playing devil's advocate, I'm also on board with Anthony. Do you think that maybe they stretch the truth once and then they get in too deep and now they have to carry the lie at one point? Do you think maybe somebody asks them and they say, "Oh yeah, I've seen this and that," and then it's like, "Oh, I can't like go back on that. I have to keep this going now."
Maybe.
Some of them.
Especially with like Lazar's case where his happened in the 80s and he's explained that story a lot.
I believe Bob Lazar.
I do as well.
He's one of the most
So,
fascinating.
In like that sense of possibly stretching the truth, maybe he was doing an interview a while ago and he said something that a little bit extended where he didn't fully see it or touch it, but he's like, well, someone told me it was there, and then it kind of became part of his story, and maybe he just ran with that. That's totally a possibility.
Mm-hmm. But his story has not changed for how long? 40 years?
Yeah, since like
At all?
83. It was like some early 80s or something of when it happened.
Element 115. He said it was real. It was discovered in the 80s, and it didn't come out on the periodic table until I think the 90s or the 2000s.
Yeah, I think it was like, I think we knew about it, but we didn't have a stable version of it. Whereas Lazar claims the propulsion system he worked on had stable versions of 115.
Mm-hmm. And that was the fuel.
Yeah, that was like what was driving this thing.
What is that? What do you think that is? Like, is it a actual fuel source, or is it like, because anti-gravity propulsion and fuel doesn't really mix, you know what I mean? Like, he's saying anti-gravity propulsion and element 115.
Yeah.
So what does he mean? Like, did he see both, or I wonder.
I would love to see what he worked on. You know, another very interesting thing where Lazar and like the Tic Tac. No, is it I think it is the Tic Tac, where Lazar's story and the Tic Tac kind of they mesh. They have connecting points because Lazar claimed when the craft flew, it was in its disc shape and it would go up and it would rotate like 180 degrees, and instead of being like a plate gliding across water, it was a plate going across water but vertical. And in the Tic Tac video, you can see the object rotate in that same manner and move in that direction, which is fucking crazy.
It can't be a coincidence.
It can't be a coincidence.
Out of all the shapes and all the movements that he could say, he picks the exact ones.
Right, like
that's a little suspicious.
Lazar could have said, like, yeah, this thing just moves like a standard craft, horizontal, and like how you think a disc-shaped object would move.
Mm.
But he said it didn't, and in the Tic Tac video, it also doesn't do that, which I find just absolutely wild.
So, if they're out there, why are they coming to Earth? What do you think that are they just watching us like an ant farm? Or are there other species that they're watching, or just one of them? Like, why do they come to Earth?
Also, like, a mild proponent of the ancient astronaut theory, which is like, in the past, we were possibly visited by extraterrestrials, and they could have helped build our civilization.
By mating with humans?
Possibly. That's like the Anunnaki.
I subscribe to that idea.
I mean,
because the brain exploded in size and intelligence around 10,000 years ago with no explanation.
It's weird, right?
It's a little weird.
And I think about humans in general. Like animals when they're born. I mean, I see this as more disadvantage than anything. But when most animals are born, it doesn't take them long to really get a grasp on things and start living like an animal, like how they are. With humans, a baby is pretty vulnerable for like many, many years. It cannot survive
it's
on
not
its own
self-reliant.
at all.
Like a giraffe within the first day, I think, is up walking.
Yeah, they can fucking walk.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Imagine like a baby getting born like the first day.
Walking around, it's like,
hey,
hey,
guys,
what the fuck is up?
what's going on?
I find that so weird that humans are pretty much the only species on the planet that are like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it is why?
Yeah,
Why are we the only ones? Like, we evolved alongside all the other animals here.
So what separates us? Like what went wrong, or in this case, what went right? I guess.
Yeah, like
Where? At what point in history, or was it a gradual thing? Which I don't believe. I think that there was a significant event, whether that was an intermingling of species, because we all know we're all horny down here. They gotta be horny up there. So you never know. But was it that, or was it something like what happened? I wonder. Like there's the stoned ape theory that they discovered psychedelics. That's a very common theory that they took psychedelics and it taught them empathy, and that sparked a connection that changed how humans behaved or primates behaved at that time, which I find interesting.
Do you think that could possibly be recreated in like current primates? I mean, of course that has to happen over many years.
I wonder if they've experimented with that.
I'm curious to see like what the outcome would
Because that'd be an easy experiment. Like, hey,
just give them some
Mr.
mushrooms
Gorilla,
and say, eat this.
yeah, try this.
So we're gonna document how you act and what you do.
Yeah, I have them like paint something.
Yeah.
They're going through the Stone Age right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I-
They're using tools like we're watching ourselves be ourselves from another perspective.
And back to the point of like, why are they here? Like, why would you not want to see that? If you, Kyle, were out in space, say the government discloses this and commercial space travel is available from light years away, and like, we're gonna take you to planet Epsilon Persei 8, and you're gonna.
I know that one personally.
I know that's like the first
It
thing that
definitely
came to my mind.
exists.
We're gonna take you there, and you're gonna do a flyby and view the intelligent life on this planet.
It'd be like a safari.
Right? Like, why
Cool.
would you pass that up?
I would not.
That'd be cool as fuck.
Because seeing lions in Africa would be a bucket list thing. Imagine
Yeah.
seeing like another intelligent species on another planet in space.
That would be
I'm
gnarly.
like, fuck yeah, let's go. Why not?
That would just be so cool. And imagine if you had a hand in that creation.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you'd want to go back and see what
'Cause
they're up to.
People like to play God,
Exactly.
so that creates that sense of power. And yeah,
Maybe the aliens were playing God. We on Earth are the product of that.
then we're a horrible fuck up.
Yeah,
Something went wrong.
they're like,
what don't we do?
guys, just let them do their thing.
Yeah.
We're just gonna fly by and just try and stay out of their sight. And
I remember
stay
hearing
home.
a quote that if humans can do it, they will do it, regardless of how immoral it is. And I fully believe that, just out of the innate curiosity that we have.
I mean, you name it, it's pretty much already been done.
Joseph Mengele,
Right, the dude's just
Horrible.
fucking around because he can.
with twins.
Yeah.
You're damn lucky you were born now.
I do have a lot of Eastern European in me, so
Yeah.
maybe they just got out of there in time.
You have Jewish in you, and I have Ashkenazi Jewish in me, which I don't have any idea what that is.
I have no idea. Is even like the ancestry thing said 1% Jewish? Is that even like?
Viable.
Yeah, can I get? Like,
You
could I
could-
walk
I don't
around
know.
and say I'm Jewish? Look at me.
Yeah, put a yarmulke on.
Yeah, like I don't.
I'm 3 or 4%, I think, but I don't know where that comes from. That's just weird.
I don't know where like any of this shit comes from. I could pinpoint. I know my dad said my parent or his grandparents came from Hungary. That's all I know.
I was told I was 100% Polish growing up, and I never believed it. So I was like, I'm gonna take a DNA test. My family's like, no, don't do it, don't do it. I was like, yeah, I really want to do it.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and turns out they're wrong. I'm like 33% Polish, 34% Eastern European, some Hispanic, the Jewish, and just random other stuff. So Yeah, we have no idea now, like where we came
You
from. I
you
guess.
you fucked up the
Yeah,
whole family story
yeah, I did.
by
The
being
lore, the
a
family
curious
lore.
asshole.
Yeah. So I don't want to get away from UAPs because I want to touch on it more because it's very fascinating
It
to
is.
me.
It's very fascinating.
Um, I have a lot to learn about it. You know more than I do. Um,
I would say the the time right now that we are living is the closest we've ever come to disclosure. Like the fact that there was a hearing for this from the government to talk to these people, that's fucking crazy. I honestly would not have imagined that in 100 years.
and it's multicultural. Other governments are also touching on it.
The Mexico alien thing, yeah, I'm so.
Well, we had this conversation. We got to talk about this.
This one, like, I don't know what to believe with it.
Well, it seems like people automatically dismiss it,
That's how I was.
and that's the problem. Not that that's real or fake, but if the government comes out, remember we were saying, if the government comes out and says, yeah, well, aliens are real, here they are, we have them, look, say hi, we're going to go, fuck you, you're lying. Why? Like,
Yeah,
we don't
that's-
trust the
that's true.
government. We have a trust issue. Nobody would believe it. So I wonder how they would expose that. How would you tell the public that aliens are real? How would you gain the trust of the public that you don't have?
I would want Joe Biden to go on a what's the press thing they do, like the American Address or something. I don't know.
Like one of their big speeches.
Not even like a big speech. Yeah, no, this would be a big fucking speech. This would be a big fucking speech. This is a big deal. I would want Joe Biden to go up there and say, like, we currently have and have been in the possession of unknown crafts and non-human intelligent beings.
And we'll be providing like further evidence in
Yeah,
the coming
like,
days.
and then drop pictures, anything you've collected. But there's a catch here. The people who are holding this hostage and not letting it get out, because so there was a bill that needed to be passed for. It would really help the disclosure. It's called the Schumer Amendment, I believe. I tried reading into it. I think it was a little over my head, but Grush was talking about it. He said if that goes through, then that is a huge step forward for disclosure.
It's like a green flag, basically.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't want the Schumer Amendment, like specifically certain Republicans.
That's
Probably
interesting.
because they have their hand
And oil.
in the cookie jar,
Mhm.
and if that comes out, then they lose the scraps.
Yeah, and that's a big problem, not just with that topic, but with all sorts of things. Like we hold ourselves back because of greed, and it's really unfortunate because we could all be so much happier and so much more wealthy in all sorts of areas, not just money. But when 1% wants 99.9%, that's not good. That doesn't
Yeah.
equal good. There's nothing that's going to come from that benefits us.
I mean, if you're a billionaire, like, do you really care if aliens fucking exist? You can do whatever you want on Earth.
Yeah. I wonder. Because Jeff Bezos has Blue Origin. Elon Musk has SpaceX. Like, you find an interest amongst these billionaires to explore space. So they have a drive, a deep, like, drive to explore. Do you think they know something because of their position of power? Because Elon Musk has publicly stated he has no knowledge. But
I don't think they do, and that's because, like, you've seen Elon on Twitter. He's like a fucking man-child.
yeah.
I don't think any government would trust
Trust
him
him.
with something like that,
Same with
no matter
Trump.
how rich they are.
Mm-hmm.
I know Barack Obama has alluded to.
Just called him Barack Obama.
Yeah, Barack
He
Obama.
said Brock.
Brock. That's just my Ohio coming in. That's the Ohio accent.
Barack Obama.
Yeah, we shorten things. Like
Yeah.
Canton is not Canton; it's Canton.
Can.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
You drop the D.
Yeah.
Cleveland.
That's true. We're interesting folk over here.
Yeah. Although, totally off topic, but according to like a lot of studies and linguists, learning English in the northeast region of the U.S. is the best because our pronunciation is very good. Or like down south, they have some twang. I don't know about out west. What do they do things normal out there? Are they weird?
Out west, very
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, so they're weird out
A
there.
little weird.
I heard the Northwest is the best place to listen to English speakers.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, we can't spell
We cannot
Remember?
fucking spell
your.
your
That's a pet peeve. There. What was the other one?
lose.
Yeah.
When someone says, and this, I was reading UAP shit today, and I was just reading some comments and some guys' comments. It was really interesting.
And they fucked it up.
And then I saw that he put loose instead of lose. I'm like, dude, you
They
just
lose
lost.
credibility.
Yeah, you lost all
Yeah.
credibility. Like,
I
if
agree.
You, if you can't fucking be punctual, then don't fucking say anything.
Because that just shows laziness
Yeah.
and a lack of intelligence almost immediately, and you can pick up on that.
I also dated a girl who did that, and she was batshit crazy. And she would
Yeah.
always say, "You're going to loose me." I'm like, that's not correct. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah. And they end up doing tarot card readings, probably. Those type of.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Barack Obama.
My man Brock.
He has alluded to like UFOs and UAPs, and I just found out today he has worked production on like UFO documentaries and stuff. So he's obviously interested in this stuff. And if anyone would know something,
It might be him.
yeah, it would probably be him.
I think he has I think he currently has some power with the president right now. Personally, but that's another
Well,
topic.
yeah, that was his vice president.
Well, I think he's still giving commands. Personally,
I'm gonna be honest.
it doesn't
I think
matter.
Obama held himself as a very charismatic individual.
yeah.
Like
Very likable.
the last 3 presidents we've had, when you think of someone who should be in a position of power and be president, it's like Joe Biden. The dude can hardly fucking speak. Trump, he's just fucking a chaotic mess. And Barack Obama, who is a very put together individual. Like, I would want Barack Obama, like, regardless of policies, I don't care. Just this is the president. Like, Barack Obama is a very stand up person, and he holds himself very well.
Let's put it this way: if you had to sit at a table and smoke a joint with Barack Obama, Joe Biden, or Donald Trump, and let's add George Bush, everybody out there is gonna choose Barack Obama.
Yeah, he just seems like I've seen him have like 2 personalities, like the cool Barack Obama, just like, yeah, fuck this, mic drop, and then the very well put together Obama.
Code switcher.
Yeah, he can just flip.
He's very talented
he
at
can flip
code
the
switching.
switch.
Yeah, and then if you watch him with his people, like his friends, you'll see how genuine he is. But then you look at your Joe Biden, your Donald Trump, they're too, I don't know how to explain it, they're too punctual, they're too official. There's no human there.
It's just business.
It's just business, yeah, which I think creates a likability in Barack Obama.
Yeah, just being business is a hindrance. That's like I feel like to make friends or maybe get certain points across, you have to kind of open up a little bit. You have to let the gates down a little bit. And if you can't do that, the other person is probably going to be on guard too, and you can't. You're going to clash.
You have to show vulnerability.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
But in Trump's case, I think that it made him unpredictable, which other leaders were intimidated by, which can be a good thing.
Yeah, intimidation can be a good thing.
I think what Putin say that he was fairly scared of Trump because of how unpredictable he was, and that goes for all the other leaders, which is it's a good and a bad thing. Because yes, he's actually unpredictable.
They say like, this is a dumb comparison, but like in video games, when someone doesn't know what they're doing, or for most things in that matter, if they don't know what they're doing, they can be pretty dangerous because they don't know the consequences of like a
Button
failure.
spammers.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they just press things. Like,
I've gotten my ass kicked in Mortal Kombat by buttons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When someone doesn't know what they're doing, they're fucking dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get some guy a chainsaw who has never even seen one before. You can swing it around like a fucking
Like
lunatic.
cut your head off.
Yeah. Or you could cut down the tree perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get far. We're getting so off topic with UAPs. I want to touch on UAPs. I love UAPs. It's like, and calling them UAPs. It went from what, UFOs to UAPs within like 2 or 3 years?
Now it's like UAP and then there's NHI, which is non-human intelligence.
Okay. So that's like the actual bodies themselves.
This is the one, I see this a lot, the non-human intelligence. Like, people claim that these beings are like humans from another dimension. They're not even like technically
Or
extraterrestrial.
interdimensional.
Yeah, what? I
Yeah.
don't know what the fuck to think about that.
Okay, I this is something that I personally know a lot about, like dimensions.
Please.
Um, so an interdimensional being. Right now, I think we have 26 known dimensions, 27 maybe.
How do they like even determine that?
Scientific measurement. There's no, like, you can't see obviously another dimension. Like if you were a two-dimensional being and a 3D person interacted with you, I think that all you would see is like something come out of nowhere, and like it wouldn't make sense to you. Like you would, when it hit your plane, when it entered your plane of two dimensions, is when you would see it. But it would be like you appearing in front of me out of nowhere. Like, why are you here? Like you weren't here, and then you just showed up. That's how the fourth dimension would work. Like you wouldn't see or interact until it interacted with your dimension, but it could still fuck with your dimension. You couldn't fuck with that. That's scary because it can interact with your dimension, but you have no ability. It's impossible. We're four-dimensional, three-dimensional. Time is a dimension. Four-dimensional, three-dimensional. Fuck, I don't know. One of the two. We would be powerless, basically. Say a fifth or a sixth dimensional being, if they exist, wanted to destroy our world. They wanted to destroy everything, mess it all up. We couldn't do anything to stop it. We have no ability.
That's fucking crazy.
That's very scary. So we think that our nuclear bombs are powerful. Wait till an interdimensional space demon comes out and wipes out the solar system in a flick of the wrist. That's scary to think about. If they exist. So
I'm just like, I want disclosure so bad. Actually, I want to get back to these Peru alien bodies, because I've said I've been back and forth on whether or not I think they're real or
the
not.
plaster bodies.
Yeah, so
They
like
do look.
when I first saw them, I'm like, okay, this is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was right after the hearings with the U.S. government, and then this thing came out, and in my mind, I was like, this is just a knock to the community. Like this is
Like a
two,
slap in the face.
this is two steps backwards from where we want to go, and they're presenting these fake ass fucking plaster
Paper mache.
yeah paper mache ass alien bodies.
They do look bad.
They look not great.
Yeah.
But the more I read about it, like they'll constantly come up on like UFO subreddits and stuff, and I'll read about it, and I'm like, I don't know anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like there might be some credibility to this.
Yeah. Like there's nothing there that makes them less believable than like a Tic Tac UFO. Like there's nothing that, like, we have them on video, we can see them, the government's talking about them, like all the credibility should be there, but the lack of trust and the bad portrayal maybe of them leads us to dismiss it instantly
Yeah.
when maybe we shouldn't.
And I think it also has to do with just the way they look. Like they look
Too
low key like aliens, like what we would
Yeah.
think an alien looks like.
They might look a little too good, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, and people just look at that and say, well, this is 100% fake.
Like, haha.
And that's another issue I have kind of with the whole like cryptid community in a way, where there's tons of grainy, shaky video out there.
And
where,
that's real.
Yeah, but if you
Yeah.
get something crystal clear, like if there was an alien sitting across from me and I snapped a picture of him and put that on the internet, nobody would believe me. Not a single person. They would say there's no way, that looks way too good. Where if you provide people with good evidence, they don't fucking believe it.
Yeah.
That's such a catch-22 with it.
So maybe you got to put a Snapchat filter over that picture.
Yeah, like
And then say, hey,
give the
guys.
alien filter.
Look, it's an alien. They say, oh, shit, I believe you.
Have you seen the supposed video of the Peruvian grave robbers finding the bodies?
Mm.
So supposedly I watched a video of these Peruvian grave robbers going into the cave where these things were discovered and filming inside of it. And there was like a lot of stuff in there, bodies in like cloaks and paintings and crazy shit like that. I don't know if that's real. I have no idea. But if it is, then that just helps corroborate this.
Yeah. And that's where the bodies were found, you're
supposedly.
saying? Supposedly.
Or it could be another cave. And actually, I think more have been technically found from, if I read correctly, fairly recently.
Mm-hmm. So if they're discovering them not on a daily basis, but there's more than 2 out there, there's many. Why hasn't anybody like you and I like found something and displayed it in a better manner or tried to prove that it's real? Like, do you think that they get shut down? Do you think they get censored? Do you think, like, what do you think about that? Like, how come nobody like you and I have found?
Well, based on the U.S. government's reaction to this disclosure stuff,
It's like
they want to
hush-hush.
they want to keep it hush hush. So I think if we found something,
How would you go about it?
I would try and get as many pictures and videos as possible and just post them online.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be the best way. And then contact someone not in a government position who I might find trustworthy to not go to the government and tell them, because there's a good possibility they would shut it down. And, I think the government, if you found something that significant, that is that believable, you might go bye-bye if they really want it
Very
that
real
hidden.
possibility.
And like with any other alien crash story in the U.S. or even outside the U.S., like Roswell, for example, the government showed up. They told people, you didn't see what you think you saw.
Stay away, shut up.
Yeah, they're like, you didn't see anything. We're going to take this, and you're not going to hear about it anymore. You're not going to talk about it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so hard in today's world to have credibility before you would get shut down, I think. But I just, come on, guys.
Right, just fucking tell me. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know. I don't care how this impacts the world. I think it would just actually help the world.
Mm-hmm. There's one more thing that's a massive problem that we haven't brought up yet. Religion.
That would destroy religion.
It would destroy religion.
Destroy it.
So that's a massive no-no. You can't, especially our United States government, cannot tarnish the reputation of the Christian, Catholic.
Right, God is so ingrained in the government.
And that's the reality is that's a massive part of our country and our upbringing. I think that would cause a lot of diversity that we don't need because we have plenty where we hate each other. That would give us one more reason where religion is already a sensitive topic. And now you add this hard evidence that basically your Bible was lying to you clear as day. You would have all the religious people automatically dismissing, no, that's not true, they're lying, I'm right, you're wrong.
Do you think like hardcore believers would maybe opt to start a new religion based on these beings?
No.
You don't think so?
Hardcore, no. Personally, no, I don't.
I would hope not.
I would hope they did, if they like to modify the religion in a good way.
Not like modify. Well, could you even modify it? Like, it really just destroys religion as a whole.
Yeah. Which is a massive problem.
Yeah, that ruins a lot of things. And
yeah.
I guess, according to some things I've read, the Vatican has low-key confirmed, I don't think publicly, based on maybe what David Bruce said, or I've just read it from a third-party source, but if the Vatican knows, then of course they'd want to keep it hush-hush, because that would destroy the Vatican, technically.
Yeah. Which is a very powerful country.
Yeah, country. It is a country.
It is a country. That sounds weird to say.
That's fucking crazy.
But it is right. Yeah, and they gotta have some shit in there.
Like the Vatican
Come
archives?
on.
Of course they do.
Like, oh, what's in there? Like, what? I want to know something.
Probably alien bodies.
I wouldn't doubt it. But I wonder if they have information about our past, maybe, that would be controversial or would change the course of our history. And they don't want to release that for obvious reasons. So that's my theory, that they might have something very crucial.
I guarantee they have something crucial. And of course they wouldn't want that to get out. Like,
no.
You've know of like Graham Hancock and like, what's the other guy's name?
The bigger dude with
the long beard.
I cannot remember his name. But he's a great guy.
Yeah, I very much enjoy listening to them. They always talk about how difficult the archaeology community is in terms of a new suggestion on how history went, or might rewrite it. They're like, no, that is your bullshit. You are full of shit. You need to take that conspiracy bullshit and,
They
and go
threatened
away.
to take away his license, didn't they?
I don't know if
Like his
I don't think he's technically
credibility?
an archaeologist.
Oh, that was Jordan Peterson. Never mind.
Oh yeah, Jordan
Yeah,
Peterson.
that's another one.
Yeah, they did do that to him.
Yeah.
But of course they wouldn't want that stuff to get out because it changes everything, like their narrative. And if the Vatican has a connection to that, then that's just a double. And we can't let the cat out of the bag here.
Yeah, and we know that the Vatican's not the best judge of people. We know
There was
there's some things.
they do some diddling.
Yeah, they do
And
diddle.
they like to cover up some diddling.
Yep, and keep those people in position while they keep diddling.
There was OLAP.
Our Lady of Peace.
Yes.
At the school.
They had a diddler.
Did they?
Yes, they
There's
did.
a lot of diddlers in there.
They had a diddler.
Yeah. I played basketball at that place. That was actually pretty nice.
It's weird. They have like carpet on the walls and stuff.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. But yeah, they had a diddler, and I wonder how long he diddled, and how long it was known before any action was taken. I feel like action is only taken when word gets out to the public.
Mm-hmm. And when the reputation of the Vatican, the
Right.
school, is tarnished, then they have to speak out against it.
Well, we had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did, but
But we have to keep in mind that although I'm not a big proponent of the church, that the church doesn't create those people. Those people were already that,
yeah, they
and
just
then
exist.
they joined. So that's an easy place for them to go to do what they want to do, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked, but
We can make edits. It's okay.
we don't need edits.
We're gonna stand strong here.
I'm sipping. I'm vaping. Edits don't exist here.
Yeah.
Unless someone has a pee break.
Well, yeah, that's true. Then I'll take the camera with me.
Hey guys,
We're pissing.
the cable's pretty long. We have like an extension
Yeah.
on it.
Oh, I'll just pee on the floor. Don't worry.
It's out of the piss corners over there.
Yeah, that way I.
On the stuffed animals.
You gotta mark my territory. Yeah, but yeah, I feel like the man. What if the Vatican knows where we came from, and it's not God, and it's not that theory? I wonder what it is.
I think we just kind of evolved with maybe the help of extraterrestrials. That's like, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Instead of a god coming down and giving people tablets and wiping or killing lots of fucking people in the process just
Millions.
because
and
he's a
millions.
little angry at them.
Yeah. Yeah. Where did it all start? Let's go deep here. Let's get deep.
Are you a Big Bang proponent?
Yes and no. I think that there might have been a turn on of the system very quickly. What I mean by that is like, it's impossible not to talk about the simulation theory. I don't believe the simulation theory, but I do like to entertain it. I believe that there might have been a plug in the computer moment that they call the Big Bang, where nothing existed and then something existed very quickly.
So basically, string theory is like the existence of other universes, correct?
That's multiverse. String theory is the smallest measurable theoretical unit of measurement, I believe, or is that the Planck length?
I don't fucking know.
It's one of them. I think string theory has no ground to stand on. Unfortunately, there's been no evidence to support it yet, so it's more of like up in the air. Maybe it's not. But I think that's string theory is basically the fabric of the universe. Maybe, like I don't know a whole lot about it, but literally vibrating strings that hold the fabric of time and space together that we have not been able to detect or discover, and we call it string theory.
Well, in that case, let's take the Marvel approach of the multiverse.
I like the multiverse theory.
I think the multiverse in Marvel is a fucking cop-out, but that's another.
No.
So maybe something happened in another universe that was already existing, and that created our universe. Like, do you think that could fill in for, like, the plug in the wall moment where that had, and the effect of that was so massive that it created our universe, which was essentially the Big Bang.
I have no idea.
Dude,
But I think
gotta know these things.
yeah, dude, come on. I think anything's possible. I think that's definitely a possibility. But I also think that the truth is probably crazier than anything that we've ever come up with yet, and we can't even fathom it. So I think that right now, as a species, we know so little because it seems like the more we learn, the less we know.
Mhm.
The more questions that we have. Like, okay, we thought that the Earth was it for a while. We didn't know there were other planets. Okay, now there's planets. Okay, well, now there's a galaxy. Well, now there's more galaxies. Oh, now there's a universe. Now there's an observable universe. Now there's a non-observable universe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's expanding at the speed of light.
Yeah.
Like, all that does is create more confusion and more question. And when you start to question these things and learn about them, you go down the rabbit hole of madness.
That's exactly how I feel
can't
about it
escape
when
it.
someone's like, well, where do you think we came from? Like, what was there before the Big Bang? And I just picture blackness.
Which is something.
It is something.
That's the
I
problem.
cannot physically picture nothing.
Mhm.
It is impossible, I think, for anybody.
Yeah, we can't fathom it. I think humans have an ego that we're smarter than we actually are, but we don't know shit.
Do you think even if we knew, like we had the answer, we could even kind of comprehend it? Because, like,
To an extent, maybe.
if someone walked in here and started explaining, like, advanced calculus to me, it would go right over my head.
Yeah,
I
that's a
probably
good
wouldn't be able
point.
to get it. So if the answer was right in front of me and they were like, well, this is how the universe came to be. This is the timeline of the universe from the start to where you are now.
Yeah.
It might just go over my fucking head.
They would have to break it down in layman's terms.
Like, explain like I'm 5.
But even that might be too complex. We have no idea. I'm so like interested in all this stuff. It makes me, because once you start thinking about the why does anything exist question, that drives you crazy. That's, like, in my opinion, the ultimate question. Like, you cannot top that one, where you think about it and you think about everything that exists, like our names, our beings, your hair, your bracelet, like my shirt. It can go on and on for infinity. Like, why does that exist? Why do we call it this? Like, why did that happen? What's the point of it? You go into madness. Like, this sends you into like an existential crisis in like 5 minutes.
Right, because you pretty much get to the conclusion of, like, there's no point to any of
You
this.
break your human brain. We're idiots. We don't know.
Yeah, honestly. When I think about that, I'm like, I think about the time span of just the Earth alone. It's been like millions and billions of years. And have you ever seen like a visual scale of like human existence compared to
It's a flash
the
in the
Earth?
pan.
It's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's human existence. If you picture a human life, which now is like, what, 70 something years in the US?
77 for a male, I think.
That's even smaller. That's like an atom in the fucking Earth. It's almost non-existent. And then you get into the question of, well, why does any of this exist? And then you look at like a picture like that. You're like, there's really nothing for me to do here.
Nihilism.
Yeah, it's just
100%.
nihilistic.
Yeah, once you break into that ground, it's almost impossible not to get a nihilistic view of like everything I do does not matter. The only thing that stops nihilism is ego. You have to have an ego. And I think that once you set that aside, it's almost freeing. People look at that as a bad thing. Like, oh, everything you do doesn't matter, like nothing matters. It's bittersweet, if you know what I mean. Like, the mistakes that I make and the mistakes that you make don't matter. Adolf Hitler will not be remembered in 5 million years.
No.
That's insane. So you and I do not matter. Like, no matter what we do, it doesn't matter. We just are free. It's liberating, I guess.
I can definitely see how it is. And I can also see how it's a very bad thing.
It also is a bad thing.
Like, if you woke up one morning and said, none of this matters, I'm not going to go to work, I'm not going to pay my bills, this family I have, it's like, what's the fucking point?
It doesn't matter, but it matters to you.
Yeah, it's what is important to you. Even if, I think that's a good a good lesson where something may not be important in the grand scheme of things, but if you find it important,
That's all
like
that
take your
matters.
pride in it and
Yeah.
you're here for a very, very short time. Why not attempt to enjoy it?
Run with it.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
just make the best of not a bad situation, but a quick
A
situation.
miracle situation.
Yeah.
We got to remember, we shouldn't even have this existence. The chance of this happening is almost zero.
But here we are.
But here we are, having a conversation.
About this.
Crazy. What are we, atoms, talking about atoms and trying to understand ourselves?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Like, the fact that we're all molecules. Like, you are a bunch of molecules, I'm a bunch of molecules assembled together talking about themselves.
Right. And like that guitar over there is molecules.
Everything.
But it's just an inanimate object.
And none of them are touching.
And that's fucking wild to me. I
You're
hate
not
getting,
touching the table.
I cannot stand getting down to like a molecular scale because that puts me in the same position of the beginning of the universe. I'm like, I can't. It doesn't make sense to me. I cannot fathom it.
That's when quantum mechanics starts to get a hold of things.
Fuck quantum mechanics.
I know.
I hate. I want to.
Fucking nuts.
I want to know everything, but at the same time, curiosity is very awesome.
Yeah, because if we knew everything, okay, then what?
I'd be bored.
I'd be bored as hell. But at the same time,
I want to know
I
everything.
want to know. Yeah, I don't know. If you had a pill, red pill, blue pill, red pill, know everything but be miserable. Blue pill, ignorance is bliss. Know nothing and be happy. Which one would you take?
I love being curious.
Mm.
No matter how much I want to know something, like with the aliens, for example, I want to know so bad, but also I'm so fucking curious about it.
Yeah, it gives you something to do.
Yeah, I'm taking the curiosity route
I think
because
I would
it
too.
really does. It gives you something to kind of look forward to
Mhm.
and maybe find out one day. Like imagine, it's like the saying, the journey is better than like the point. How I fucked that up so
Let
bad.
me think about this one for a second because
It's,
I'm gonna fuck it up too. The journey is better than the destination.
Yeah. So say like you're Christopher Columbus. Oh fuck Christopher Columbus, by the
Yeah,
way.
fuck Christopher
Bro,
Columbus.
fuck so many people.
Me and
like
my
that.
homies hate Christopher
We
Columbus.
hate Christopher Columbus. Anyway, you're Christopher Columbus, and you're given the task from Spain to go sail to the New World. They're like, we want you to find a route to get these spices in a different area. You need to find this new place, and you're sailing. That journey across must be like just exhilarating.
Mm.
Aside from people having scurvy and shitting their pants on this godforsaken
Yeah, but
shit.
everything else.
Yeah, but everything else is cool. And then you see it off the distance, and like the anticipation has got to be killing you.
Yeah.
And then you get there, and of course, like there's still so much to explore, but like you're done. Like you did it.
Yeah. Now what?
Yeah, it's like what comes after that.
Yeah. How do you reach that high again?
Yeah, you have to do that again, but bigger.
Which is not gonna happen.
And if you know everything, there is no bigger.
Mhm.
There's nothing.
Man, it gives me a headache
It
thinking
does
about
give
all
me a
that.
headache.
But I feel you though on the not know everything, although I want to, because you do like I enjoy researching, I enjoy learning, I enjoy reading studies. If you know everything, or if you have an answer to something that you're so passionate about, like I believe that people that are obsessed with Sasquatch, like your dad, like say your dad, like say your dad times 10. Say somebody's so obsessed, like they spend like every weekend like researching Sasquatch. Where is he at? Tracking him. And then they find him one day. Okay, well, what are you going to do with your
Yeah,
weekend?
like
What are you going to do with Bob and George this weekend? You know what I mean? Like, you can't go look for Sasquatch.
you're gonna sit in the garage and be like, "We found him, guys."
Like, yeah, there he is.
Now what do we do?
Yeah, that you can't reach that. So I think that humans thrive on that curiosity. So I think it's very important to us.
It's such a it's difficult though, because like everybody has goals, and then you want to reach those goals. You really do, and you try very hard to reach the goals, and then you reach the goal, and you got to make a new goal.
You think that's why rich people keep chasing?
It has to be, like
Yeah.
it 100% has
Boredom.
to be. Yeah, it could be boredom, and just how much more can I make?
Well, yeah. How much more power? How much better can I
Yeah,
feel
like,
about? Yeah.
what else can I do?
How can I cement my name in history? I think that's a big deal for them.
I think that's a big deal, a huge deal for them.
Mm.
I think that's a big deal for a lot of people. They just don't really acknowledge
They want to
it.
be remembered.
Yeah, I know a lot of people might disagree with this, but I think deep down a lot of people feel this way. They want to be remembered. Like, think back to like Nero, Roman emperors, like what's his name? The Mongolian.
I'm drawing a
Genghis Khan.
Genghis
I
Khan
can't
was
remember those
fucked.
two of them. But although he wasn't a great person, he's remembered.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a long time ago.
Yep.
I think a lot of people would love to go down in history for thousands of years and be taught in history books. But no, I think a lot of people might say, like, oh, I don't want that. I think deep down, a lot of people really do.
100%. I think the biggest fear is being forgotten by a lot of people, and they don't even realize it.
Right?
So, yeah, you look at, like, your Genghis Khan figures, your Mao, the Chinese serial killer that was worse than Hitler, that nobody talks about for some fucking reason.
Man, that's a topic I would like to get into. We can dive into it. We'll keep Mao in mind.
Okay, we'll keep them in the back of our mind. But those figures, regardless of what they did, their name's still in your mouth like 1,000 years later. So they achieved their goal in the end, I think, because they did carry out what they were passionate about, regardless of how bad it was. Adolf Hitler did what he wanted to do, except he didn't take over the world. That was a goal of his. But he killed millions of the people he hated, and went down in history.
Not even just that, he killed. You could kind of viably say Adolf Hitler killed just about everybody in World War II.
Yeah,
Which
he's
is
the reason
a
for
nutty thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pearl Harbor. That's another one that we knew was coming and we didn't do anything about it.
I kind of agree with that. I told Tim about that, and he was kind of like flabbergasted.
Yeah.
He was like, "You really think they would do that?" I'm like,
Yes.
"Yes, I do think they would do that."
Weren't all their ships
All the carriers.
were suspiciously moved, and all their training ships were? How did that work?
All the carriers. There's a noise.
That's what I'm wondering.
Is that the camera?
I don't know.
Everything's still recording.
It's coming from over there.
That's what I. Oh no.
I thought it was like a mouse or something. I got like mouse trauma because of what how it worked.
I think it is the camera. It
Okay.
does. It's still going. So actually, no. It looks like it's frozen. Looks like it's been frozen for a little
God
while.
damn.
That's all right. It's still recording this.
Oh.
So audio, I'll just put in like a fucking picture or something. I don't know. Or sort out the camera issues later on. But
This is a rough draft anyway.
this
We're
is
figuring
always
this all
how
out.
like a podcast with me
Yeah.
goes. Like there's never just this smooth. Everything works perfectly. And this is just another example of that.
Is it overheating?
It had to have overheated. That's what I think. Which is weird because I have, you know what? I didn't leave open the flaps and the things, but
Whatever.
you learn for next time.
We learned.
What was I saying?
What were we saying?
It was about. I cannot remember for the life of me.
Give me a second here.
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor,
It was
yeah,
Pearl Harbor.
The ships,
Yes.
carriers.
All the U.S. carriers that were in Pearl Harbor were not there that Sunday morning. They left on a training exercise. The older battleships that were, fairly old in World War I and stuff were all there. And nothing new really was there.
Nothing of value.
Yeah, I guess you could
Technically,
say that.
Nothing of high
And
value.
at this point, like, battleships were already obsolete. The creation of the aircraft carrier made almost every other ship obsolete, especially the battleship. They were huge. Their main purpose was to just strike from a distance, but you don't need that anymore when you can have airplanes that do that.
Mhm.
All they really provided was like anti-aircraft fire. But those were all gone. And a flight of B-17s was coming in that morning, and they saw a huge blip on radar. They're like, oh, that's probably just the B-17s. Keep in mind, tensions with Japan at this time were very high because we were withholding oil from them that they needed because they were at war with China. And we cut them off. So that's why they attacked Pearl Harbor. They wanted... I could really dive far into this, but they did not...
I like learning.
They knew they could not win a war against the U.S. They knew that attacking Pearl Harbor was a bad idea. They technically really didn't want to do it. So they thought, if we attack the U.S. and just start that, we get rid of the fleet, maybe they'll just kind of opt out fairly quickly and we can continue our war with China. Because what Japan wanted to do in World War II was create this sphere of influence and be like the heart of Southeast Asia. They wanted to get rid of the imperialists like the UK, the French. They wanted to get rid of them, and they kind of wanted to be their own imperialists of Southeast Asia. So the U.S. to China, or the U.S. to Japan in World War II wasn't even like the big cahoot like America thinks. It was not like we need to stop the U.S. They really wanted China, because they had been at war with China since like the early 30s. That's really what they wanted. Back to Pearl Harbor, I totally think that the U.S. knew it was coming, kind of wanted an in to the war because the U.S. populace was not for war. And if you give them a reason to go to war and you don't stop it, and war makes money, and you just came out of a depression, then what better way than to just let it happen naturally?
So they were looking for a way to finagle themselves in there while looking like the good guys at the same time.
Yeah.
Which they did achieve.
Oh, yeah.
I believe there was also radio transmission that was intercepted before Pearl Harbor, which alluded to them preparing an attack on the U.S.
I can't remember, but there was also a midget submarine spotted in Pearl Harbor.
So they knew something was going on.
I think it was before the attack of Pearl Harbor. I want to say it was. Do not quote me on that. If I'm wrong, then tell me I'm wrong. But if they did find a midget sub in Pearl Harbor before the attack, it's like, what do you think it's fucking doing there? Like, why else would it be there?
Yeah. They're high-end military.
High.
Yeah, military officials with tensions high. So they know that something's coming, but they realize if this happens, we have an excuse that looks really good for us.
Exactly.
And like you say, money, war is very profitable. And we were in the Depression at the time. We were just coming out. That's, if you are the United States government, a golden opportunity that you can't pass up. As wrong as it is to you and I, as a whole, that benefited, I believe, the country, which is unfortunate, but just it's the reality of the situation.
Well, war creates very wealthy people.
Mm-hmm. They get wealthier and wealthier, and we get what? Poorer and poorer.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's interesting how the end of, I feel like World War II was like the last. This is such a strange term to say, the last good war. Not to say World War II was good. Like, millions of fucking people died. It was awful. Like, if it didn't have to happen, that would be fucking awesome. But the last good war that was fought kind of with like a just cause. You know, maybe the U.S. didn't know Pearl Harbor happened or was going to happen.
Well, there's a small price to pay.
You can't let Japan continually slaughter people in other countries. Like, that's not okay. And the same thing goes with Germany. You can't just let that happen. And I feel like that's fairly just. Like, we fought that war like righteously, and then anything after that came the military-industrial complex, and then every war after that, I feel, has been
peace treaties. There was a nuclear agreement.
Oh yeah,
that was a big deal.
I feel everything after that has been solely for money, and I was telling Alex this the other day because if the Blowback podcast, if you've ever listened to it, I highly suggest it.
I did. I listened to the Iraq episode.
It's an amazing podcast, but one consistent thing throughout the history of the U.S. is always, what can we do to stop communism? And it seems like every fucking war after, whether some way or another, is connected to fucking communism. It's how can we just eliminate this thing that we don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Korea was a fucking shit show, and it should have never happened, but it did. Vietnam was a shit show.
All the Middle East.
All the Middle East. Actually, we got involved in Afghanistan because of communism. Because Russia was there, and they attacked Afghanistan. And we're like, how can we prolong this war? Because fuck the Russians. They're fucking communist assholes. And then we got sucked into a 20-year insurgency there.
Right.
But
So you bring up us. We can't let Germany, we can't let Japan slaughter these people. Do you think that what we saw then is in the infant stages in Ukraine right now? Do you think that inevitably we step in and say, well, we can't let these people get killed anymore. We have to deploy NATO and we have to get involved? Or in Iran right now, or do you see us stepping in?
Not really, because the U.S. is very against a war right now. Like, boots on the ground would be political suicide for, I think, any politician at the moment. But we are involved in Ukraine very heavily in terms of arms. And that is our way of saying, fuck Russia. You know, I think a lot of Americans, especially in the age range who grew up in, like, the Cold War times, are still deeply ingrained with that, like,
Mindset.
yeah, communism bad, the USSR is the worst. And based on what I've heard, you know, Putin's whole agenda is to restore the former Soviet Union, like
the USSR.
Yeah, it's satellite countries and everything. So
Poland's involved in that.
Poland is involved in that.
Poland is part of NATO.
And Poland creates. I'm curious about whether or not NATO actually declares war on Russia. I don't think Russia will invade Poland. I really don't. But, like, do you think NATO would have the nads to even say, like, we're going to war, boots on the ground?
Personally, yes. I believe that they're already tinkering with that idea. Now, Russia steps on the NATO territory, which is a big no-no. If we don't do something, our credibility is thrown out the window. For all the other NATO countries, that's the problem. If we don't intervene, then every other country that's a part of NATO loses trust in the United States.
That's a strikingly similar situation to the beginning of World War II, where Adolf Hitler marched into Austria, and, like, the UK and France were like, no, don't do that. If you do that again, like, there's going to be consequences. So he did it again, and they were like, no, that's a bad person. Right? And he was just like, I wonder how fucking far I can take this, until he declares war on Poland, and then World War II inevitably starts. But I think what you say is good. Like, if we did declare war on Russia, if they did invade Poland, you need to uphold that there are consequences to your actions. Because if you don't, they could just march in anywhere else.
Yeah,
like, how far can we push you until you finally break?
It's like a kid that misbehaves with no consequences.
Right.
Eventually, you have to do something to get him to listen. It's just on a country scale.
Yeah, of course anyone's going to push that and see how far they can take it.
It's just human nature. I hope that doesn't happen, personally.
That would suck.
Obviously, we hope that doesn't happen. But you can't. You're breaking the trust of every NATO country, because they, at the end of the day, rely on us heavily.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think Putin does go to Poland? Do you think that he does eventually invade or try to strike something up there?
No, at least not in the state that their military is currently in. Ukraine has been a shit show, like, bad. They're essentially in, like, World War I tactics right now of dig the trench, charge, die, next round of guys go and do the same thing. There's Russia's aircraft, the amount of corruption in Russia is crazy, which is a huge part of why their military equipment is outdated and
not working.
Fucking falling apart.
Yeah.
If they would have put that money into where it was supposed to go, of course they would be a bigger threat. But the U.S. is... let's just talk, like, aircraft carriers alone. I think we have 10 or 11.
So we dominate the air.
We dominate
everything.
The other country with the most aircraft carriers, I think they have 2.
Is that China?
I think it's China.
Yeah.
And that's fucking crazy, because the aircraft carrier is... you don't fuck with an aircraft carrier.
So that raises the question, does China play the long game which I think that they are doing right now. I think they've infiltrated. Like TikTok is a problem.
Yeah.
I think that they are behind that personally. Like they have a big responsibility there. Do they use cyber warfare because of the power that we have? Do you think that they attack that because our cyber defense is not as strong as our military defense as far as like bombs and airplanes and
Mhm.
aircraft carriers go? So logistically, it makes a lot more sense that they attack that way, which could shut down all communication.
I mean, why not? If that's the ace up your sleeve, why not fucking go for it?
We don't have the ability, I think, to stop them. I think that they're more advanced. They spend more money, basically. Whoever spends the most money on their military in certain areas is who's going to dominate that area.
They low key win.
And they spend the most money in that area, which we have ramped up, though. So I think we're catching up. So do they pull the plug sooner rather than later? Or what happens? Like 2030, there's a theory that there's a big 2030 agenda, which does make me nervous.
It does make you nervous?
It does make me nervous because I think that a lot of the dominoes have fallen into place. But I think that there has been more pushback in the last year than there was previously. So it just begs you to wonder, like, what does the next 10 years look like in our country and around the world?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have so much upheaval at the moment.
I've thought about that, and I don't know if like a war would come. I mean, the last like World War was obviously the 40s, but everything since then hasn't really been like superpowers have not fought superpowers in an extremely long time. It's like, is that coming? Is that soon? Especially
it would take
with
something massive, I think.
the tensions. Like the Ukraine thing has got me thinking a lot. You know, they're at a stalemate, and how long can you just keep up the killing of the people before, say, Putin steps in and says, like, look, here's what's going to happen. We're going to nuke this, and then that is a chain reaction of, oh yeah, that's a fuck up. You can't do that.
If
and then
he
everyone
uses
goes
a
crazy.
nuke.
Yeah.
Like what happens?
Yeah, like what do
that's
you
the
do? Do you think like
problem.
the U.S. nukes Russia, and then China nukes it's like, man, it's just mad. It's mutually assured destruction.
I think we take matters at first. I think our first step would be no.
You know,
Don't do that.
that would be something if someone gets away with dropping a nuke like that. We're just like, don't do that again.
I mean, you have one of two options. No, nuke them back.
Yeah.
And either can spell the end of the world, which is sad.
Or do you think like NATO even does anything at that? Because Ukraine's not a NATO country, and I think a lot of people low key want a hands off approach, to what's happening over there right now. Like, if we don't have to put boots on the ground, we're not going to. So if Russia thinks they can get away with something like that, because obviously when you drop one,
you drop more.
yeah, you kind of know another one's coming somewhere. Who does it? Who knows?
Russia.
But a lot of people are going to die.
If Russia drops one and gets away with it, they drop another.
Yeah.
And another. And another.
And then it's like, well, the U.S. says we have to step in, and then, you know, I'd be like, where the fuck is the next one going?
Yeah.
Who's it coming from? Is it going to be me?
Yeah, because the amount of nuclear bombs that are operational right now would take, 5% of them would obliterate the world.
Yeah, and they're so fucking strong.
And they're getting stronger. The Tsar Bomba was the strongest. I think that was
The Tsar Bomba wasn't even at its full capacity.
They turned it down.
50%.
So the pilot would get away.
Right.
And they still gave him a 50% chance of surviving?
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, why? Why do we do this? Like, just why? There's no reason. Like, you drop that bomb, you're going to ruin the ecosystem. Like, you're going to ruin it for yourself. That's a self-destruction, in my opinion, at that point.
It's 100% self-destruction.
And we know that those bombs are coming. We have a detection system. We send them back before they hit us. So you have multiple going off at a given time. in other areas of the world.
This
That's
is
bad.
a good opportunity to prod this question. Um, with the introduction of nuclear weapons in 1945, the uptick in UAP occurrences
That's
showed
a
up.
very good idea.
So, and not another nuke has ever been dropped on another country since then. I mean, there's been tests,
Mhm.
there's lots of sites, but nothing like that has happened since then. If something like that were to happen, do you think, if they are here, that UAPs or NHI would prevent that?
Yes, depending on their intentions. Like if they look after us, yes. Like we would, like we intervene in the extinction of animals.
Mm-hmm.
They would do the same thing, I think.
That's I've never really thought about that, like how we intervene with the extinction of animals.
So we're artificially prolonging the existence of a species through our own hand that otherwise would die off. Koala bears are idiots.
Fuck, stupid.
We try so hard to keep them here, and they try so hard to go away. So I think that yeah, I wonder if that's a universal feeling though. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
how much different are they? I think it depends on that as well. Like what's their goals? What's their thought process? Do they care? Do they want to see what happens? But if we're a product of them or a project of them, then yeah, I think they intervene at that point. I hope they intervene at that point.
Yeah, I would hope that something happens to where we don't have to cross the nuclear bridge.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a good point. After the bomb, the Nagasaki, Hiroshima went off, there's been a significant uptick in sightings. And I wonder, I wonder if that's them keeping a closer eye. Like, what is that?
Like, do you think like they went off, and I don't know, maybe they have sensors out there on Earth, and they're like, yo, these guys, they just did it. Like, we need to go down there and kind of see what's going on and keep an eye on these fucking people, because they just entered an era of complete annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not smart, they could totally wipe out everything.
And maybe the Earth is valuable to them.
Yeah.
Maybe we're the miners for the aliens.
Actually, that's actually the Anunnaki theory, is that they came here because they needed gold.
Mm-hmm.
They made it with humans, and the humans were the slaves that mined the gold for the Anunnaki.
Sometimes I feel like a slave when I wake up in the morning.
Yeah,
It's
when
not
I-
a coincidence.
When I go to work.
Man, yeah, I don't know. I think that there's so many questions and so little answers and information that it's hard to know or even make an educated guess on things sometimes. And I always believe that the truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
So it's just fun to talk about and hope that we're right about some of these things.
That would be cool.
Like
if,
I want an intervention.
Yeah, I would love an intervention.
Like
Like,
we
I
need
know,
like an Alcoholics Anonymous like type scenario, where if we bomb everybody, they need to sit all the leaders down in a room, have them introduce themselves.
hi,
I'm Vladimir
I'm-
Putin, and I nuclear bombing. Hi, I'm Joe Biden. Yeah.
I've heard this before, and actually Kenny, the truck driver, recently said it too.
Uh-oh.
He's like, you know, you guys were living in history, interesting times. I'm like, Kenny, I don't want to live through history and
Yeah.
interesting times. It fucking sucks.
Yeah, it
I would
does.
love to live through boring, mundane times.
Yeah, but in the same vein, I think it's easy to forget that we also live in the best of times,
Yeah.
because people always, I think every generation thinks that they live in like the worst times or the best time, or it's always one or the other. It's always an extreme. Remember the bubonic plague? No, we don't remember it, fortunately, but we know it happened. We have to think about all the diseases, the life expectancy, the slavery, how many there were. Like an Egyptian slave, it was very common. We're so much better off today than we were 100, 200, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. That sometimes we take that for granted. I think that we could fuck it up way quicker today,
Yeah.
but I think as of right now, we're not that bad off. Like we have direct access to food. 2,000 years ago, we did not have direct access to food, water, treatment, health treatment. Like right now, we're sitting at a table. You're drinking a Red Bull. You're enjoying your day. Like that wasn't reality 10,000 years ago. You were worried about getting killed by a saber-toothed tiger. So I think that sometimes we have to remember that we're not in that bad of a time, and to be grateful, I think, for what we have, because I think that people are negative without reason sometimes, which is just natural. But you'd be a lot happier if you were more grateful. So that's my theory on that.
No, I agree. I couldn't imagine waking up like 200 years ago or 300 years ago in the Industrial Revolution times. That was like early 1900s, wasn't it? But imagine waking up in the Industrial Revolution, working 18 hours a day in some shit-ass factory where your buddy just lost both his hands.
And he's dead now?
Yeah, he's dead. And your other buddy lost his foot because accidents were very common. And then you get to go home to a shit-ass house. You get to eat like bread or something.
And you all smell bad.
Yeah, everyone fucking stinks.
Yeah.
You don't know what bathing is. That reality would suck.
But to them it doesn't, because that's the only thing they know. That's another thing.
That's also another hard comprehension thing.
Yeah, I guess for everybody, they feel the same way we do. Because like I'm saying, that's the only reality that those people knew. Like they don't know 2023. Like they don't know computers. They don't know iPhones. What would we do without like technology? Like what would you do? I don't understand. I think about that. Like your grandparents. How do they entertain themselves?
Yeah, man, what did you guys do?
Like a Wednesday night, right? You go home. Like today, we get on our computers, our phones. We watch YouTube. You stream. Like we entertain ourselves with technology. Back then, you went outside. You play with a fucking stick every day.
Like if it's raining outside, it's like, I guess I'm staying inside today.
And having 27 children with Sarah.
Oh yeah, that would suck.
That's another thing that happened.
The amount of kids.
So, yeah, how do people entertain themselves? Like what do they do even before cars? Like, what do you do? And it gets dark and you can't light your fucking house. You don't have electricity.
Right, you're out on the farm. It's like winter's here. It gets dark at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, you're fucked.
You're like, okay, well, we're inside for the night. You know, this is interesting. So whenever we go backpacking, I'm a night owl. I love staying up late, like 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll hit the hay. But out backpacking, when that sun sets, and it could be like 9:30, and you're sitting by the fire, you're like, I think I'm going to call it a night. As much as I would love to stay up late as fuck in the woods and explore.
Feels good, though.
Yeah, but it just feels natural to go to bed when the sun sets.
That's why a lot of people don't know that the term midnight stems from middle of the night. 12 o'clock was the middle of the night, and you got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and got everything ready on the farm and like all that shit. Yeah. That's where the term midnight comes from.
Out there, I naturally wake up early as fuck.
You fell asleep at 8 o'clock. Yeah.
Maybe that's how they did it. You don't entertain yourself at night. You go to bed when the sun sets, and you wake up and you do the things you do in the day. Yeah.
You get prepared for the day.
Yeah.
At 4 o'clock in the morning, like that's midnight was the middle of the night. That's crazy to me. That's crazy that we don't know that. I just learned that like a few months ago.
I mean, it makes sense. I guess it's just a what is that English term? I want to say it's not conjunction.
Conundrum.
Conjunction.
Conundrum.
Midnight makes midnight. I don't know. I took that shit in like 8th grade.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't remember anything from like 2 days ago. But yeah, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Let me pause like Elon Musk here. You ever watch him in an interview? It makes me uncomfortable.
I don't like to watch Elon Musk.
It makes me uncomfortable.
I don't like him really as a person.
I think, okay, for a billionaire who is clearly probably not a good person, he's the best of the bunch, if that makes sense. Like, I think that he has contributed the most to you and I, especially with the free speech thing that we were touching on earlier. I feel like out of all of them, he's the most outspoken, although he also acts like a man-child.
He does seem like kind of the most transparent.
So I think that he might have the good of humanity in his heart, and I hope he does. but he's also a multi-billionaire that exploits people and takes credit for their work.
Yeah, and we'll get to a lot of his resources for creating Teslas from the Congo, which is mined by slaves, pretty much.
Child slavery.
Yeah, so that's not a very, very poggers thing.
And people don't realize their Tesla's not that efficient because of that. They're using gas-powered things to mine lithium.
Yeah, they're using coal-powered planes to
Yeah.
get electricity to power it.
It's all a scam. Trust me, it's a big scam.
Yeah.
So people need to realize.
And emissions from cars aren't even like the big problem.
No.
It's like big tankers.
Industrial factories.
Yes, things like that.
Private jets.
Private
That
jets,
the
yes.
billionaire is telling you not to drive your gas-powered car doing every day.
But his private jet that uses hundreds of gallons of fuel multiple times a day is better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's okay if they do it.
But you get a tax break for a Tesla.
You do get a tax break for a Tesla. It's pretty expensive. $6,000-$7,000.
Look at that.
And a Prius, too.
And a Prius.
I almost bought a Prius because of that.
You get
But
great gas mileage.
They can take it away, like, instantly. Like, like the model year, the way it works is, like, you can wake up one day and that tax exemption or whatever is gone.
Is it because like the car becomes outdated and less efficient?
Not necessarily. That's one of the reasons. They can just choose to, okay, yeah, we're not doing that anymore for that vehicle. And that happened to a lot of them. Like one of the Priuses I was looking at became exempt, like, I think within a week of me looking. Like 1 week it was $6,000 and a couple weeks later it was not applicable.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of screw people on that sometimes. But Teslas are cool.
I think they're neat. They're neat cars.
Mm-hmm. I think that the power delivery is interesting because it's instant. There's no loss of power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that maybe electric vehicles aren't the way. And I think that people are realizing that might not be the answer right now, because we don't have the power grid to sustain it. They're already-
don't. Like Texas, when they hit a snowstorm, the fucking houses lose power.
And people died.
Yeah, so you really think they have enough to add an enormous amount of energy to charge these cars?
California is limiting people's air conditioning use because their power grid cannot support it.
They also hardly have fucking water half the time, and their state's on
Yes.
fire 90%.
Yes, mentally and also in reality.
Yeah, California is it's not somewhere when I was younger, when I was like 18, 19, I was like, man, I want to live in LA. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, man, I don't want to go anywhere near that fucking state.
Well, they sold you the Hollywood dream.
They did.
Sold me. That was like my dream, was to go to Hollywood or see it, just to go there and experience it.
Mhm.
And I still would like to, just to see what it's like.
You would see a lot of homeless people.
Shit on the street
Yeah, shit on the street.
that they clean for G.
Yeah, in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I saw that. I'm like, how come they can do this for this, but like not in general? Like,
Because they don't care.
yeah, that's true. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a single fuck.
Yeah.
For a state that's, I think, widely considered one of the most progressive, it's very unprogressive of them.
I think there's a lot of virtue signalers there.
There's a lot of. Ooh, this brings me back to the Mao thing of virtue signaling. I don't really want to get into the Israel-Palestine thing currently because there's a lot I don't know. So I really can't say a whole lot on that.
We're ignorant on the topic.
I'm very ignorant on the topic.
I am as well.
So maybe I need to do some more research. But the virtue signaling. People are screaming, stop the genocide. We need a ceasefire. And you know, Palestine isn't the only place where lots of women, children, and people are getting killed currently. A lot of people don't know Yemen has had a civil war going on for like a decade now. And so many more people have died there. And you know how many like posts I've seen about Yemen?
Like 5.
No, none. None. No one gives a shit about
Yeah.
Yemen. The thing that they care about is the thing in front of their face that the news feeds them, that they can get brownie points for by supporting. Like, no one gives a shit. And we talked about the slave mining in the Congo. No one gives a fuck about that.
Because it services them specifically.
Yeah.
The
and, like,
iPhone,
this thing,
child slavery in China.
would you, most people, if you ask them, like, would you participate in stopping slavery? They're like, it would be really easy. You literally don't have to really do anything. In fact, it saves you $1,000 a year by not upgrading your phone. They'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And then you tell them what that entails. They say, okay, well, you can't have a cell phone anymore. How many people do you think would do that?
I don't think I would.
I don't think I would either. So the
It'd be a
people
hard
virtue
decision.
signaling this shit are fucking ass backwards, and it pisses me off when I see it. It really does. I'm like, you think you're doing this righteous cause by saying and spreading awareness for this one thing, but there's so much other shit going on in the world that's really horrible that you do not care about or care to look into. So if you're really like a virtuous person and you give a shit about people, then you would expand your horizons a little bit instead
And
of
do
focusing.
something about it.
And do something instead of attacking other people for not seeing your viewpoint. Like, you're so far up your own ass. It's absolutely ridiculous to
You're
me.
causing more problem.
Yeah, it pisses me off
Yeah.
so bad.
Well, I mean, we had, you remember the France flag that everyone was posting on their social media? You had that. You had Ukrainian flag. You had the mask mandate flag, or
Yeah.
flag, the mask mandate picture. You had all those things. I think the goal of those individuals is to look good to others, and they're very concerned about that.
That's all it is. It's they just want to
Yes.
look cool or
They want attention.
seem like they give a shit.
But those people, big secret here, are some of the worst people ever. Same with people in the church. Like, you can't trust them because of that.
You know, quite a few people I know, and I'm not going to name names, are those people who virtue signal hard as fuck. And you know, they're actually batshit crazy pieces of shit.
Yes.
Like, they really are.
That's not a coincidence.
And, you know, if you don't agree with them, they won't hesitate to cut you out, to treat you like shit, talk shit about you, and just low-key threaten you for what you think. Even if you don't think against them, you just don't really have an opinion, you're wrong, and you're a bad person, and they won't hesitate to treat you like a piece of shit. It's like, how virtuous are you? You know, if you really
Good
want
people don't do that.
No, they don't. And if you want to get your point across,
Educate.
Exactly. The thing to do is not attack. It is to explain and provide evidence and proof, and maybe in a way you can help.
Yeah. And there's no effort put into that.
There's none. Like,
It's just fun, I think, for them to complain. I think it's fun. I really do. I think that in their eyes, that's a pastime for them that they enjoy. Causing trouble for other people. Like getting on people's nerves. How can I get on his nerves?
it has to be,
has
especially
to
if they think they're like super right.
Yeah.
How can I prove this person wrong today? Instead of how can I educate this person?
Because we all have those thoughts. Like, if I see a stupid comment on YouTube, sometimes I want to shit on that person.
Yeah.
I want to say, hey, you're wrong because of this. But I have to say to myself, like, that's not the right way to go about it. Let me try to educate from what I know and go from there instead of shitting on somebody, because that doesn't do what you want to do. That doesn't achieve your goal. But I believe that their goal is not to achieve a goal. I think they just want to stir up controversy
Yeah.
and cause problems because it entertains them.
Yeah. And even if, like, say you try to educate them on something, because they're obviously not right all the time. No one is.
I'm not.
I'm not.
Mhm.
That's for damn sure. But if you try to educate someone like that, they're not open to criticism.
No.
They don't care to see what evidence you have to provide.
They take it personally.
They do. It's an attack on them.
Yep. So like when I'm like this is kind of off topic. Like how when I tell people that I don't want kids or I don't want to get married, that's like an attack on that person, especially if they have kids. And I've noticed that you have to hold your tongue on that, because you're basically implying that their decision was wrong,
Yeah.
even though you're not saying that. That's how they take it. So you can't go about it that way. Like, that's not going to help anybody. Like, you have to explain your position in a mature manner, not act like a child.
Which is kind of stupid. Like, if you just don't
It is
want,
stupid.
like, you not having kids or not wanting to get married doesn't hurt anybody. It's
No.
like, why shouldn't you have to explain why you don't want this thing?
'Cause they take it
They
personally.
didn't. You don't care if they explain why they wanted kids or why they got married. It's just if it doesn't agree with them, it's well, that's weird.
It's also a cultural norm,
Yeah.
and anything that's against a cultural norm to a quote unquote normie is threatening,
Yeah, you're going against the grain there.
which is no bueno.
Yeah, that's bad.
They're NPCs.
On that, I'm gonna go take a piss because I really have to go.
All right.
I'm back from my piss break. Unfortunately, we are running into camera issues, which is not uncommon for any podcast that I've ever done. We will work this out eventually. But,
You ruined everything.
the camera for the Sony A6000, and I will take this to my grave, is one of the worst cameras. Is the worst camera I've ever had to deal with. Unfortunately, I have two of them.
He sabotaged it.
Fuck you, Sony.
I wasn't
Shit
looking.
Maybe I'll find a dummy battery. 'Cause my Canon, I love the Canon.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try and find a dummy battery for that.
That'll-
Anyway, this was the first episode of the Stuck at the Airport podcast.
Don't cancel us.
Not yet, at least.
Give us one more
Let us
episode.
get like 5
Yeah, come on.
episodes out.
Let's start making money.
Yeah, and this is kind of an Easter egg for Tim. If you listened to the hour and 50 minutes of this, when we say Flappy, and that it's weird as fuck that he eats his peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and he dunks them into the fucking milk. That's
You're
weird.
a sick man.
Yeah, that's soggy water bread right there. But anyway,
Disgusting.
thank you guys for listening. I think this was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Shouts. I'm gonna drop my other shit here. If you do like other podcasts, I have another one called the Yellow Iron Podcast with 160 something episodes. If you got the time to kill, it's focused more on anime. This one's obviously more serious, but if you're interested in stuff like that, you can check that out. I make YouTube videos on a YouTube channel called Skish. We'll drop links to these in the description below. Any words?
Was a good time. Tune in next week, please. For the love of God.
Do we need something?
Please.
I need something to catch. All right, we'll catch you guys next week.